Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We are kicking off the weekend. It is Friday, and that means it is
Front Office Friday!
Let's go. Front Office Friday coming at you, talking NBA basketball. We've got plenty to get into today. Maybe not quite as much as we would have like the first week of July or something like that, but still, there's a lot going on around the league for us to dive into. A lot of trade requests still out there, rumors, a few moves that actually went down, and all of that. So, those of you joining us live over on the Front Office YouTube channel, welcome in. Do us a favor and smash that like button and push the show out as much as we can. Keith, this is, I believe, am I right? This is your last show pre-vacation?
Yes, it is, my friend. This is it. This is the last one for me for a week. I'm going to be away on a cruise ship and just off, doing whatever it is I do for a week, or probably more accurately, whatever it is I'm not doing, which is probably going to be a lot of not doing things. So I'm very excited for that.
How long after you get off a cruise ship does it take you to reacclimate to land, like to no longer feel like you're on the boat?
Yeah, a couple days for me. I get I don't get motion sick, but I do get like very like I can feel it right away. And for us that'll mean like that first dinner, like I'll know where we're off and we're out to sea. So I'll feel it right away, and it usually does take me a couple days. It's especially when I lay down. Like that's when I feel it
Yeah.
most.
I even get that, like, if I ride a lot of elevators in a day, I'll feel like I'm still on the elevator. So it takes me like a week, sometimes more, but totally
Mm,
worth it when we're talking about a cruise ship. That's for
sure.
sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Shout out
Although,
to the elevators at the hotel we stayed at in Las Vegas
oh, Resorts
to
World.
go. Yeah, Resorts
Whew.
World, Hilton, to get up so many floors. I was not planned. I was on the 33rd floor, which was awesome because 33, the Larry Bird number. So I'll always take that. And it was yeah, I was like zipped right up there, up and down very, very quickly. Those were some fast moving elevators. So I enjoyed that.
As long as you can get that key card to scan, you're good. Hey,
Good
hey,
point.
Keith, you're gonna like this. First of all,
I
I like that
saw that.
he's got a Bernese Mountain Dog in his
Yep.
picture there, which we have two of those. But listening to this while at the hour-long line for Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland right now. So Keith, it was back in February, I think, when I was at Disney World
Yeah.
with my family, and knowing that you know all things Disney World, I texted you and said, hey, we're looking at Rise of the Resistance, but we're probably going to skip it because it's like a 2.5 hour line. And you told me, don't skip it. It's worth the wait. And it certainly was. So Joe in line waiting for Rise of the Resistance. If you haven't been on it, oh my gosh, it is absolutely amazing and totally worth the wait. Keith, you are 100% right.
Yeah, super cool. The whole thing. We're not going to spoil any of it
No.
for you, Joe, but enjoy it, man. You're gonna love it if you haven't done it before. And for me, best ride out there. So yeah.
Yeah, it is unlike anything that I had ever done in terms of a theme park. I don't know if I can call it a roller coaster, but a theme park
Yeah,
ride,
ride.
unlike
Yep.
anything that I had ever done before. So absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely phenomenal. Javier, well, happy birthday. Happy
Hey,
birthday.
happy birthday. Well done, sir.
It's your birthday.
I hope you're having a good day. Thanks for spending part of your birthday with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We will still have shows next week. It may not be quite as frequent, depends on the news and all that. But Ron Gutterman will hop in with me for a few. I know Sean Davis has some stuff planned out that he wanted to put up on here too. So there's still going to be some stuff coming out over here on the Front Office YouTube channel. So make sure that you do subscribe there. Of course, turn on those notifications as well. Keith, where do we want to start today? I guess we could start with the James Harden and Dame Lillard situations. Not that there's a ton of movement there, but I'm starting to wonder, is there going to be? Like there was a rumor that I
Yeah.
saw this morning about maybe the Blazers actually are trying to convince Dame to stay, and that's part of why they don't seem all that motivated to make a deal.
Yeah, that's been floating around out there. Is that Portland is like, hey, if you decide you want to stay here, we're good. They very much believe that they could play him and Scoot Henderson together. I think then your problem becomes now what happens to Anthony Simons, what happens to Shaden Sharp, and the other things. But they re-signed Jeremy Grant with the idea of having Damian Lillard there, so maybe they are content to just roll into the season with him and figure it out. I still tend to believe something will get done there. I think we're too far down that road for him to return there, but we'll find out. We'll see if that's the way that one goes. The James Harden news today was the 76ers reportedly, this I think came from Mike Scotto over at Hoops Hype, said they want to move PJ Tucker in a deal where they move James Harden. And if the reports of Philadelphia really wanting to hit next season, kind of with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey's relatively small cap hold as the only money on their books with a ton of cap space, then that would make a lot of sense to clear PJ Tucker's money off the books for next season. So that's another kind of little interesting wrinkle there. And you would presume if you're a team acquiring James Harden, you probably have room for PJ Tucker in your rotation to try to be a pretty good team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, PJ Tucker, he can still get it done. Now, you could look at that contract and say, well, he's really getting up there in years at this point, but he's still getting it done. So I don't think that would be something that would like the Clippers want to get him if they can, because that's another piece you could add in, and that could help you.
Yeah, it's not like you're trying to throw Tobias Harris's contract in there to say, hey, take on $35 million. It's $11 million. It should be fine.
Yeah, right. Shouldn't be too big of a problem if indeed the Clippers do want James Harden, and we'll see. Is that going to work, you think? Harden, Westbrook, Kawhi, Paul George, how many games all four of them would be healthy for together, at the same time? That's anybody's guess. I mean, I guess maybe what would the over-under even be set at? Like maybe 22.5 or something?
Yeah, probably pretty low for sure. Yeah, especially given, Kawhi and PG, what do you think you get? Maybe 50 games out of them each.
Yeah.
At this point, Harden, you're probably thinking on the high end, probably 60. Odd that I think Russ is the oldest player of that group. If not, he's got to be pretty close. And he's probably the most reliable guy as far as health goes to play the most games. And so, I'm not sure. And that's a lot of guys who need the ball. Not a bunch of guys who are really good away from the ball either. So starts to get a little complicated. But Russ's deal, my guess would be he's the one who would ultimately probably suffer the most in that situation, where it'd be, all right, you're going to be shuttled off to the bench or to a lesser role or whatever it is. But it'd be a curious mix to be sure.
The challenge there, as you said, most of those guys aren't good off the ball. The guys who are best off the ball are probably Kawhi and Paul George, who are the guys that you most want to have the ball out of that mix. So that becomes extra challenging, right? Where the guys who are best playing off the ball are the guys you want with the ball. So I don't look, it's a lot of firepower, and it could potentially work, but it could also, to go back to Rise of Resistance, just blow up spectacularly a la the Death Star. But
there it is.
We could wind up in that situation there in LA with the Clippers. Mission 86 with a super chat said, I understand AD's potential extension would average about 50-ish million per year. For reasons not in his control, let's say AD plays 50-ish games per year. Barring catastrophic injury, has a player ever averaged 1 million per game?
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi's going to be pretty close the last couple years. We'll see about Zion. He's now, he definitely is up around that amount now if he continues to miss a lot of games. So Kawhi, a little bit over that. So he 52 games last year, then didn't play 52 the year before, 57. So he's played, 164 total games with the Clippers. I'm sorry, 161 total games in 4 seasons with the Clippers. So we're probably about there. He's probably made, in that range money wise so far. So, but
those are all like all these guys, Kawhi, Paul George, Anthony Davis. I mean, these are all guys that are dealing with it. Like the reason why they're only playing like 50 games or so is
nobody's
catastrophic injury, right? Nobody's just, I know the Clippers are the kings of load management. And even if both guys are fully healthy, they're not, sitting Kawhi for 32 games if they can avoid it.
No, yeah, no one's just load managing these guys for no reason at all. That's I think a big misconception with this is, that the people who really hammer on load management as being a bad thing, no one just does it to do it. It's generally because you're dealing with something or you're trying to avoid something. So
Mhm.
you're trying to get them into a place where it's a little bit different. Zion he didn't make quite that much money
No, but
last year.
but he didn't play. But again,
Yeah,
that falls under
yep,
catastrophic injury. Like
mhm.
now, at some point though, and I think it's coming soon with the way we're seeing the cap go up and salaries increase. We will. I don't know how many. What 6, 7 years? Something. At some point, we're going to hit a player who is going to be making $1 million per game if they play all 82. And
Yeah,
that's coming. An $82 million per season salary is coming.
yeah. He's the only guy in position to do it right now. So there's all this buzz of Jaylen Brown will be the highest paid player in the NBA. And part of what comes with that highest paid player is it's all mostly about timing, right? Like he happens to be in position to sign the extension. And the
Mhm.
final year of his deal will be if he gets the full max, will be a $70 million contract. And he's probably, 70 tends to be around the top end for a lot of guys anyway. At this point in time. So yeah, I mean we're getting really close to $1 million per game being there. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how that kind of comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I saw somebody put it out there on Twitter yesterday that, and I wish I could recall who it was, but making the comment that we really need to shift the way that we look at salaries. And we need to, instead of getting the sticker shock of, oh my gosh, this dude's going to make $70
Yeah,
million
it was Mike
or whatever.
Vorkunov from the Athletic.
Okay. That's who it was. So we need to start looking at percentage of the cap. And that's what Spot Track does such a great job of, putting that out there so that you have an idea of really comparing, not necessarily apples to apples, but it's what's relevant. It's, if the cap is this is how much of that this contract eats up, rather than just, oh my gosh, Magic Johnson made this much back in the day. Now look at how many more times how money this guy's making. That's not really what it's about. How much of the cap this player eats up, because it's all relative to that, right? The cap reflects how much money the NBA is bringing in as well. So that's why this is all connected, and why looking at percentage of the cap, I don't know if we're ever actually going to get there, but that's probably the more accurate way to look at these salaries.
Yeah, it really does. It gets you into just a different mindset of some of these things, and it's funny because I replied to Mike's tweet with something along the lines of, "Hey, this is why we added percentage of the cap, and it's on there now on all of our prior year's salary pages and everything, and people can go look at them." And I think what's funny is somebody said it doesn't matter. All these salaries are way too high. It's crazy that this guy makes this, and then they threw somebody out from 20 years ago, and this guy only made that. And it's like, but that's exactly the point. They still both made 30% of the salary cap. It's just everything is adjusted from there. So yeah, it's nuts. We did a long podcast over on Spot Track yesterday on our NBA Next series that came out, which was all about career earnings. So LeBron James, and this is just his NBA salary earnings, to be clear, because he's made hundreds of millions of dollars in endorsement money and investments and all those other things. But just his NBA salary, he's like at like 500 plus million. Well, you just had four rookies, if you count Desmond Bain, sign $200 million rookie scale
Mm-hmm.
extensions. Those guys are going to blow by LeBron's career earnings very likely, just with, if Anthony Edwards stays good, his next extension is going to be probably in the range of 350 to 400 million. And then in 2 contracts for him, he'll have surpassed what LeBron made in his entire career. It's
Yeah.
just the way it works. I mean, some of the all-time greats. I mean, it's like, what was that old joke, Babe Ruth? I made more money than the president, last year, and people were like, yeah, how do you feel about that? He's like, well, I had a better year than him, and that's kind of the joke. But I mean, you look at what Babe Ruth made back when he played, and it's like a pittance now. Like I remember when it was a huge deal because Roger Clemens was going to get $10 million in a season, and people were losing their minds over this guy pitches 35 games a year. How's he going to make $10 million? This is crazy. Blah 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 blah. And they just kind of go with that. So yeah, it's just how it works. Timing is everything in life.
Well, what's interesting is here, like Philip says, no one scrutinizes actors and musicians for making millions, but sports players get a lot of public ire. And it's not just that, hey, this guy's doing something athletic versus a musician. The difference is people are passionate fans of a specific team, just like people could be passionate fans of a musician, of an actor, or whatever. But I don't know, if Robert Downey Jr. gets $50 million to do another Iron Man movie, that doesn't necessarily change the movie itself. Whereas if Jaylen Brown gets $70 million, that's going to impact what else the Celtics can do with their roster. And so it's that dynamic, I think, that influences part of why people pay so much attention and get upset when athletes make a certain amount, whereas they won't react the same way if it's an actor or a musician or something like that.
And Adam Tate, a couple messages above that one, makes a good point and says, it's not just 82 games, right? Because I hear that all the time. These guys are getting paid this much to only work 82 days a year. That's not at all how it works. They are pretty much working one way or another from the time they report to training camp all the way through whenever their season ends. So if you're one of the two teams that's lucky enough to go to the NBA Finals, mid to late June. And that's not to say, hey, that's not to say they still don't get a lot of time off. They still get July, August, September off, but they don't even really get that off because they're still working out. They're still working on their games. A lot of these guys are undergoing some form of, generally fairly minor, but some form of rehab and surgery on some kind of injury or something. And on off days in the season, there's only like 7 to 10 truly off days. Even the days in between games are going to be, even if there's not a practice scheduled, there's still, rehab work, there's film work, there's quite often those are travel days, there's all sorts of stuff. So it really is a little bit different. It's one of those things where I keep telling people all the time, don't compare yourself to the life of, a professional athlete, because it's you don't live anything. They don't work normal jobs. That's just not what they do. And I can't argue with somebody who says, this guy makes, $50 million a year and a teacher makes 30,000 a year. I get it. I fully get it. But, I kind of, that's how it is. Like it's, everybody should get more money. That's my feeling. And the way, how I always say too, if I walk in to my bosses over at Spot Track or our boss at front office show and say, hey, I actually want $1 million for every front office Friday. And he says, yes. Is that on me? That's not on me. Like no. That's on, that's great. Thanks. Good. Just make sure that direct deposit hits.
Can we do that?
I don't know. We could. I think we're going to get a no, but I mean, it's worth the shot.
I mean, I bought a lottery ticket. Like, what's greater odds, winning the lottery or getting a yes on that?
Yeah, probably about even, honestly.
Yeah. So in other words, Keith, athletes and teachers both get the off season off.
Yeah.
Right. But not really.
That's how people see
not
it.
really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. You know how many teachers get the summer off. Right, like there's it's not exactly how it works. So
nope, that's not. That's when you get signed up for all kinds of trainings and things of that nature. By the way, big shout out to all of my teacher friends that are getting ready to go back to school next week.
When I get back from the cruise, if you follow me, I will do what I did last year. Is just the little way I can help. I'll retweet a bunch of teachers' lists because teachers spend way too much of their own money in their classroom. So I like to retweet a bunch of teacher lists to try to help them out. So we generally do that for about a week or so as they flow in. I'll put a tweet up and ask for a bunch of replies, and then I'll retweet a whole bunch of people. And last year we had a lot of people got stuff off their list, which was super cool of people to do who follow me. I thought that was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that's a worthwhile cause. What?
Teachers can't shoot except for Trevor.
That's true.
Here it
That's
is.
true.
That's true.
That
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah. Hey, you want more money? Work on your jump shot, right?
That's
Or
right.
work on your hitting or fielding or whatever it may be. I saw something else in here that I wanted to hit.
Here's this one while you're finding that. The worst thing is once a player signs a decent money extension, his trade value usually plummets. Teams don't seem to want to trade for mid players on multi-year contracts anymore. Well, yeah, I mean nobody if it's a bad contract, if the general perception, right? I mean this is a an ever evolving marketplace. And if the general perception is that the contract is bad, that it's an overpay, teams aren't going to want to pay for that. If it's the general perception is that it's an underpay and that it's a great value, then teams are going to be willing to give more. It just depends on the contract itself. And that's where teams have to negotiate and make the decision. Do we want, even if we have to go into bad contract territory, or at least that's going to be the initial perception, do we believe this player at some point is going to play well enough for this to be a good contract and a positive value? That's all the game within the game, and something that teams have to kind of figure out as they're negotiating with players and deciding what's acceptable and what's not in terms of how much money they're willing to give up.
Yeah, exactly. And you do see, sometimes too, some of the things that you'll see with players. I mean, James Harden just did it. Now it's apparently causing him some issues. Was he gave up a bunch of money
Mm-hmm.
to allow the Sixers to get some guys. So that does get kind of interesting. So, is Sabonis's contract of all this? Zillionis asks that. Yeah, I think so. I think it's fine. I have no issue with Sabonis getting what essentially is a max deal now
Yeah.
after the renegotiation and extension. I think it's fine. He's an All NBA center. Even if he's not an All NBA guy every year, he's in the All Star consideration. He'll be in that mix. He's a great fit on that team. Him and Fox are kind of a perfect pairing together. So yeah, I'm there, man. I am very very happy. With those guys. Paying him, and I think it's a perfect value deal for him. No issue at all.
There was a question earlier that I meant to throw up here, but it was asking, are the Kings legit contenders this year? Do you have them in that tier as contenders?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't gone through and done my full tiers yet because, quite frankly, I'm waiting to see what happens with Lillard and Harden situations on this. But I'll have them in the top half of the West for sure, probably in the top fifth or third. If not, yeah, I think they can be near the top of the conference again. I think had they gotten a slightly better draw in the first round, they might have advanced into
Mm-hmm.
into the next round and beyond. I'm not going to say they can be the Nuggets next year because the Nuggets built towards that over a period of about 3 or 4 seasons of building for them to get there. But there's no reason the Kings can't be on that path towards what the Nuggets eventually became. That they've got a lot of really good players. They've got great functional depth on that team. They're not like 12, 13 guys deep, but their top 8, 9 guys are pretty good. I'd stack them up with just about anybody else's. So yeah, I'll probably have them in the top 4 in the West going into next season. That's just off the top of my head. I'll need to sit down and really go through it, but I think so.
Yeah, I think that they, just by virtue of being one of the better teams in the West, that makes them a contender. The West is absolutely brutal. You look at, I mean, there's going to be 3, maybe 4 like playoff caliber teams that don't make it in the West this year. And so that's going to be a challenge. There's going to be some good teams on the outside looking in, but there's this kind of perception out there that people don't fully buy what the Kings did last year.
Mhm.
Just their offense was so good and the defense was so bad. Or is the offense really that good? And if the defense continues to be bad, that's a problem. I think the defense can get better this year, but I'm kind of in on the Kings. I don't think, I'm not looking at it and saying, oh, that was just a mirage, what we saw this
Yeah.
last season, and they're going to slip again next year. I think they really found something. I think Sabonis really is that good, and Fox really is that good, and they're going to continue to play some good basketball. So, especially as Keegan Murray continues to grow, as he continues to get better and better and better, I think they've got some upside here. So I'm buying it. I think that the Kings can indeed be a legit contender in the Western Conference. Just again, not that I would pick them as the team to come out of the West, but I think they can be in that mix for sure.
Well, and that's the key one, right? Is Keegan Murray. If Keegan Murray
Yep.
continues to improve and gets better, they're going to be they're going to be great. It's then now then, as even if we're not saying Sabonis and Fox are true absolute number one guys, if Murray becomes that, then you don't
Oh wow, yeah,
need them both to be that.
yeah.
Like they can be something slightly lesser. So
If Keegan Murray becomes like a true 1A guy, oh yeah, I mean that
yeah,
just the ceiling for this team just skyrockets, right? They could be absolutely fantastic if that indeed happens. Um, I've got a question here, and it just flew past me. I'm trying to find it. It's the question is asking, and I'll find it in just a second. But it's asking. Oh, there it is. What do you think the Nets would have to give up to move Ben Simmons' contract? Now he's got 37.9 million coming this current season, the 2023-2024 season, 40.3 million coming the season after, and that's it. So 2 years left on the deal, just shy of $80 million total owed to him. When I think of the Nets, I don't think about Ben Simmons at all. Like when I'm
no,
looking at my
yeah.
analysis of the Nets, like I don't even factor him in. And maybe that's a mistake. Maybe he gets back out on the floor and he plays for them, but I don't factor him into their rotation. And that's maybe I should because he is their highest paid player. But I don't know if they even can move him because who knows if he's even going to play at all. Like they would have to take back some really bad money to do it or attach some very serious draft capital in order to get somebody to take on that much money.
Yeah, and I don't see them putting in their own stuff to dump him. And right now, quite frankly, there's no real reason, right? Like they just don't need to. There's nobody they're trying to go get that they need to clear cap space for or anything like that. I think it's more what you said. If they wanted to trade him today, they could trade him, but then it's going to be you got to take back a worse contract,
Mm-hmm.
or take back two bad contracts or whatever. Next year, a year from now, far easier, right? Because then it'll be an expiring deal, and there'll be teams will say, "Yeah, I'll take Ben Simmons on." And who knows? Hopefully, this year he gets back on the court and starts to show, "Hey, I can play, like, and I can do some stuff." It's funny. I think people have forgotten this guy was awesome.
He
Like
was.
he was so good, even without being able to shoot. He was really great. So I think it's I think we're in a spot where now though, yeah, I mean, get on the court first, and then we can talk about all the rest of it.
And did you know yesterday was his birthday?
I did. I saw
He
that. I saw. Oh,
turned
good.
27. Turned
Yeah.
27. It feels like he's like 35 because
Yeah.
we spent so much time talking about him. Like he's been in the league forever. He just turned 27. That's crazy.
Crazy. Yeah. Yesterday was like a lot of guys' birthdays. There was like 4 or 5. Like I have it. One of the accounts I follow is the I think it's the MBPA account, and they
Mhm.
tweet them all in a thread, and it was like at least a 5 or 6 player long thread. Yeah, it was either yesterday or the day before that they had a whole bunch of guys with that. So yeah, I think it's yeah, you're right though. He does feel like he's a lot older
Yeah.
than that. I saw one in here. This is from Al Jan. It's the one right below the one you were just on.
Okay.
What do you guys think about extra games in the play-in tournament? It's only a couple extra games, so I'm not worried about it. The
Yeah.
group games, those count as regular season games. Those are not extra games. So when I know we just off the top of my head, I know the Celtics and the Magic are in the same group. When they play each other, that counts as one of their regular season games. So it's not that is not an extra game. So just so everybody kind of knows that I think that's been a misconception that they're going to play. Now teams are going to play like 87 games in a season. That's not the case.
Well, you're talking about the mid-season tournament. He's asking about the
Oh,
play-in
in the
tournament.
play-in tournament.
But that could
Sorry.
be. I'm wondering though. Maybe
Oh,
he's meaning the mid-season tournament. Maybe
got
that
it.
was
All
the
right. I
intention.
apologize. I saw I saw in tournament, and I immediately went to in season tournament. Extra games in the playing tournament. So if he's asking about adding extra games, no, leave it the way it is. It's good as the way it is.
Yeah.
I think they really hit on a formula that works. I think that 7th seeded team gets the 2 cracks at it, or 7th and 8th seeded teams get the 2 cracks at it. The other teams are they've got to win twice. I think they did a good setup. I'm even in favor of if you're like the 10th seed and you're like 7 games back of the 9th seed, I wouldn't even you're out. You don't even go. You don't even play. Like I
Mhm.
loved the games back requirement that they used in the bubble,
Yeah.
which part of the reason they used that in the bubble was because they had to like cut it off somewhere, and every team wasn't going to play the same amount of games. So they wanted to have something there to make it a little more fair and even. But yeah, I don't want to add any more extra games to the playing tournament. We don't need that.
No, I don't think we do either. I don't think we do either. Mission 86 with a super chat. Appreciate it. Said, Keith, now you got me thinking. If 100% can you see AD and Simmons pairing post LeBron, I'd take him personally. I mean, can we say, we can't say with any certainty that he will be 100%. Like in theory, if he was 100%, I'd be concerned on the offensive end about the floor spacing. But if he's really 100% Ben Simmons that we saw like 4 years ago, that's an incredible defensive duo, but your floor spacing is pretty shot.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's your challenge. If he's 100%, yeah, I don't have a huge issue with it. You know, you need to, like you said, you'd have to have A+ shooting at the other 3 spots. You want to play the breaking news drop?
Yeah, here we go. Let me all right, get ready. Prepare your ears, everyone.
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
All right.
It is with it.
So, Dosunmu, going back to the Bulls, 3 years, $21 million. So he's going back to the Bulls. He was one of the better free agents still left on the board. 3 years, $21 million is great. It was starting to look like you might have to sign that qualifying offer of $5 million. The challenge for him was he would have been a restricted free agent again next year. So they really wanted to get something worked out for him on a long-term deal. And now the Bulls got him. They got Javon Carter. They bringing back Kobe White. So I really that's a good solid value. $7 million a year for I would assume that's good stuff.
Yeah. There was a report, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that he was not expecting to be back with the Bulls or something. I think that was probably a little behind the scenes negotiation taking place there. But good to see the Bulls were able to get that done and get him back into the mix. Again, the Bulls without Lonzo Ball, they need as much help at the point guard position as they can. And I liked him in the draft. What was that, a couple of years ago? And so good to see that he'll be sticking in Chicago.
Yeah, he's a tough player. Did you know there was a point where I want to say it was through his first like 4 games against the Celtics, he never missed a shot. And it wasn't like he was like 4 for 4. He was something ridiculous like 12 of 12 initially. Then he was like 22 of 26 through like 4 games against Boston. And then it was like some absurd number from 3 or like 14 of 16. It was crazy. So, just one of those weird things.
So every team's fan base feels like their opponent has a guy that has a random role player that blows up against them every single night, right? Why? Of course, this guy averages like 8 points a game and he's going to go for 20 against us. So for the Celtics, we know it's Ayo Dosunmu.
Yep. Yeah, he was for a while. Then last year he had like kind of like a string of not great games, but yeah, so we'll see. Any word on Christian? Oh, go ahead.
Ollie with the super chat said, who might be the dark horse team in FIBA this year?
I gotta pull up the groups. Hold on.
I don't have a great sense of who's. Obviously I'll be watching Team USA games, but I don't have a great sense of who else is good and who, and all that. I look at Team Canada and I look at that roster and I go, "Ooh, that's pretty stacked."
Yeah, their group's a little tricky though for them, because they're in a group with France. France is going to be pretty good. Let's see. I think Italy should get through their group. They're in Group A with Angola, the Dominican Republic, and Philippines. Your boy Jordan Clarkson apparently going to play for the Philippines in the World Cup. I think Lithuania will be pretty tough. Their initial group stage they should get through. And they generally put it together. Their key is always their big show. It's will their guards show up enough. Germany's got a fairly favorable draw. Australia's going to be tough as well. They're both in the same group. They should come out of the same group there. Brazil generally brings a lot of guys. Yeah, so Canada's challenge, right? They're in a group with France and Latvia. So that's kind of tricky. Just to see, you can't afford to stumble there in that group with that. So there's a couple. We'll get into that more when it gets a little closer.
So we're And we're going to be looking at FIBA, of course, when it starts. But that's, what is it, August 25th?
Yes.
It starts up?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. August 25th to like September 10th-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, September 10th.
I just booked a little mini trip for August 26th, actually. So I'll have to make sure that I check it out while I'm on the road. But all right, only for a few days. Vector Nova says, with Sasha Vezenkov, and I always mispronounce his first name, Misic. Vasily. I always I want to throw a J in there, and I know
well,
it's
there's a J, but
there is a J there, but I want to throw the J sound in there. I know it's not really there though. Do you guys see more European players coming over? What about Nikola Mirotic coming back?
Yeah, so the Mirotic thing, what came out yesterday was Barcelona said he will not be back with them. Now, that was kind of a known thing because there was a report about a month or so ago that he was signing with a team in Italy, Olimpia Milano. But that's apparently not going to happen. And now it sounds like he may be going to Partizan. So so we'll see if that's how that goes down in Belgrade. So if he goes there, obviously he's not coming back. I don't think he's coming back here. I think there's a chance for him. He would rather just be in Europe. He makes a good living over there. He's very happy over there. He didn't necessarily like being here. Didn't love playing in the NBA. So I don't think we're Nikola Mirotic unless some team really bowled him over with an offer. And with Vezenkov and Misic, it's kind of now or never time for those guys. They're both they're not old by any means. They're like in their prime years, but it's like either it was now or never. You either need to get here or don't come at all. And now it's time for them to take the chance and come over. So I'm excited. Vezenkov, much more clear path to playing time. He'll be in rotation immediately with the Kings as a backup forward. Misic, a little trickier because that Oklahoma City guard group is just so stuffed of good players. But he's a very good player. So I imagine he'll eventually break through.
A mini trip to the Philippines? No, that's not my mini trip. I am taking
more than a mini trip.
I'm gonna go melt in Phoenix. Gonna go see some family out there for a couple of days.
There you go. Yeah. A mini trip to the Philippines is not that's like a day of travel. So I don't think we make a mini trip there. Kemba Walker. We didn't talk about that. He's going to Monaco. He's going to sign with AS Monaco.
Good for Kemba.
In Monaco, they're in Monaco, but play in the French league, in the top league. Actually won the French league last year and then made it to the Euro League Final Four. So he's joining a very good team, a very loaded team with good players. So he said he actually attended a Celtics Hornets game and then did a bunch of interviews while I was there. And he's like, I'm not done. He's like, I'm gonna play somewhere again. I feel like I still have enough to go. So we'll see. Hopefully he's got enough in the tank to be competitive. But he had rejected prior years going overseas and now apparently was finally ready to make that jump. So gonna play with Monaco.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you feel like you still have something left and you want to keep going, then more power to them. Keep playing the game as long as you possibly can, right?
Charlie Saturday says went to a team with like 7 small shoot first guards. That is true. There's a lot of guards on that Monaco team, but a lot of talent too. So we'll see how it all comes together.
Just play 5 guards all together. It's Darvin Ham's dream scenario.
Yeah, Monty Eunice was like their big man at Jaren Blossom game. If you remember him, he bounced around the NBA for a little bit.
That's right. I do remember that one. Darren said, do you think Keldon Johnson is underpaid? And how much do you think Devin Vassell is worth? So Keldon Johnson has been a favorite of both of ours for a while now. So
we're not exactly rational on Keldon Johnson.
But still, he's making $20 million this season. He's just 23 years old. $20 million this season, then $19 million, then $17.5 million, and then $17.5 million again. So he has a declining contract. Devin Vassell is on a $5.8 million team option this season, almost $5.9 million, and then they'll have to pay him. So I guess let's start with Keldon Johnson. Is he underpaid? Because my answer is going to be yes.
I mean, probably a little bit underpaid.
Points, 5 boards, shot well. No, not great from 33%, but still. He's a good player.
It's I mean, he's by the end of the contract, he'll make just above the the mid-level. So
Right.
so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, he's a very good player, and I think a guy who's going to fit quite well with that Spurs roster, or he's going to be part of a trade to get them something else as a rebalance. Devin Vassell, yeah, I thought Devin Vassell is a guy who's probably going to get 25 million a year if he extends, would be my guess. So the Spurs may let that play out. For the Spurs, a lot of dudes at that 2-3 position. They've just got a lot of guys in the mix in that group. So they may say, hey, let's let this play out a little bit and see kind of where it goes with that. But yeah, I would give him, I'd give him 20-25 million. I don't even think twice about it. I think Devin Vassell is really good.
Yeah, 18.5 points, 4 boards, 3.5 assists while shooting 39% from 3 last season for Vassell. Now, didn't play in a lot of games, only 38 games because he was dealing with injury. But when he's out there, he can be he's very, very good. So the Spurs have got, when we look at the Spurs and we go, oh, it's is Wemby going to run the team by himself? Is he going to win them games all by himself? He's not by himself. They've got Keldon Johnson. They've got Vassell. They've got some other players on this team that can do some things. Not saying that they're suddenly going to be a playoff squad, but it's more than just Wemby out there.
Yep. Hey, C Nasty, we'll answer your question when you stop spamming the chat and you say when you actually put the player's right name in there. Then we'll answer the question. But until you give you one more chance, put the right name in there, and then we'll answer the question.
Keith coming strong on a Friday here. Anyone excited for Messi in Miami?
Is that tonight?
I think
is that the
word?
The word? Yeah, he's gonna play tonight though.
Yeah,
like actually play.
I think he's coming off the bench tonight. It's gonna be like a Zlatan with the Galaxy thing, where he comes off the bench.
I didn't realize that team stinks.
What, Miami
team? Yeah, they're bad.
Well, they got in trouble for some circumvention stuff, some under the table stuff, and so they weren't able to build out a roster like they normally would. But I think I'm excited for the MLS, for the league itself more than Team Miami. But I think it's a big deal. Obviously, you go back to David Beckham arriving with the Galaxy. You go back to when Wayne Rooney came over. You go back to some of the big names that have come over. I mean, this is the biggest. This is bigger than Beckham coming, I think. So this is going to be huge, and I think it's big for the league. And it's funny. I always get, whenever anybody brings up MLS, people always say, well, they turn their nose up and go, oh, well, the Premier League is better, and all these other leagues are better and all this stuff. I don't care. I think it's amazing that there's an American league that's gaining real traction and is becoming, over the 25 years that it's been in existence, and I've been watching the whole time, not religiously, but I'm more in the casual fan category. But I think it's incredible that how far this league has come and continues to grow, and this is just a sign of the direction that it's heading.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thrilled for them. I know the tickets for every Miami game, like on the road, sold out
now.
All over the place. So it's very funny down here too. People are very much calling out. It's fine to call it Miami, but just know he's playing in Fort Lauderdale, not Miami, because that's where the stadium is. So that's just kind of a Florida related thing with this. Jairo Romero asks, is the Heat OKC trade finished? The Oladipo trade? Yeah, that's been done for a while now, at least a couple weeks. So that was done. There's no reported trades that are like agreed to trades that haven't been completed. Everything's been completed, and we're only down to a handful of reported signings that haven't been made official yet. So it's gonna take a little bit.
Ooh, so 112 degrees in Tucson.
Yeah, somebody else dropped it. It was 117 in Phoenix.
They're on a crazy streak of just a number of days in a row over 110 degrees. So we'll see. I'm hoping that calms down a little bit. In fact, I'm looking right now. They have a high I'm going to be going out to like Gilbert. Their high is 114 today.
That's brutal.
That's
what's funny though? Warm. I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but it's a dry heat. Right, but like it is true, right?
There is truth to it. Absolutely,
major difference because like here, like it was the other day, it was like 96, but it was like so humid that you were soaked the minute you walked out of the house. So, but yeah, there was a couple other things in here. Yes, there you go, Jalen Noel. Yes, there it is. Well done. Jalen Noel. I like Jalen Noel as a player too. He's probably one of the higher rated guys I have left that's still on the board. I thought a team would snap him up. Now he's probably going to have to be a minimum signing, and we'll see how that kind of comes together with that with him. So thank you for getting the name correct.
There you go.
No longer spamming the chat. We appreciate that.
Get your questions answered. Yep.
Somebody noted Slam Ball is back tonight, so I'll check out some Slam Ball. Yeah,
I'll probably be watching Messi, but I'll check out the highlights from Slam Ball. That's
Slam Ball's fun. So
yeah,
the big one tonight though, 9:00, the U.S. women's team World Cup opener tonight. Yeah, 9:00. So
they're playing Vietnam, right?
Vietnam. Yep. The over under on goals in the game is 6.5. So they're expecting, I guess, the U.S. team to run it up, and it's a good entry for them into this World Cup because it's a very young and new U.S. women's team. So we're Smith family is fired up. We'll be watching 9:00 Eastern tonight, and then the game 2 is going to be while we're on the ship. So we're hoping they will have it on the ship for us to watch.
If not, you're going to be watching that ESPN Bottom Line, Keith.
That's it. I know I will be. I'll be glued to it, waiting for updates.
Do you think, from Forum Blue Kevin, do you think the Knicks have a top superstar target? Because there've been connections, but there've been the rumors that they're kind of keeping an eye on the Embiid situation and all of that. What are we thinking here with the Knicks? Because they were that team in the past that was like constantly chasing the superstars of yesterday, and it never worked out for them. They were getting the Steve Francises of the world, and it just never really worked. And then finally, it felt like they had shifted direction over the last couple of years, and they had some sustainability. Are they a team that, number one, is in position to go after a superstar, and number two, should they?
Yeah. So, and I'm glad you said, brought that up about how they were in the past, right? They very famously put everything into when LeBron was going to be a free agent and pitching him, and then they didn't get him, and then they moved on to the next and on to the next and on to the next. I think it's in a spot where I think for the Knicks under Leon Rose and under this front office, they're a lot more patient, and it is not, we're going to put all our eggs in this one player basket. I think now what they're trying to do is be in a position when that player that they feel is the right guy for them becomes available, that they can at least go after him, right? They can try to make a run at that player. So whether that's Joel Embiid down the line, we've heard Karl Anthony Towns for years, as a guy potentially for them. So whether it's a player like that, that's what I think they're trying to do, is just put themselves in a position. I'll say this on the Knicks, it's very, very under the radar because no one really truly cares all that much. But Evan Fournier's situation there is not good. He's given a couple interviews now about it where he's basically all but said, like, hey, they promised me they were going to trade me this summer and they didn't. And now I'm still here and I'm going to be back here, on my contract, never playing and sitting at the end of the bench. And he then, said, I'll still work hard and I'll still try to do my best and all those things. Very clear. Evan Fournier is a guy who was like, get me out of here. I want to play. Like, he's not 37 years old at the end of a long-term deal. Like, I think he wants to be somewhere. And that was the report, was that the Knicks had the plans to move him. So we'll right now it's hard though, because we talked about this before. Nobody's sitting on $20 million in cap space anymore. Nobody's just in a spot where they can just grab this guy or anything like that. So I think it might be a little while for him there.
Is there, because he's on an expiring deal, is there somebody else that you can think of that's on a similar value expiring deal that also isn't in a good situation, where you just take, hey, you give me your problem, you take my problem, and we'll see if a new situation makes things better. If it's beginning to get that kind of, I don't want to say it's Fournier's fault or it's Nick's fault or whatever, but clearly the relationship there isn't working. Is there somebody, if you forget about, hey, we're trying to get a draft pick, we're trying to get this, we're trying to get that, just shuffle two players into different situations and see if that changes things at all, at least for a season? I'm trying to think about who would fit that bill, and I'm drawing a blank here.
Yeah, it'd be a 2-for-1 deal. But the deal I would look into, and I think it makes a lot of sense for both teams just from a moving pieces around standpoint, is I think the Knicks could get with the Spurs and trade Fournier to the Spurs. That's reportedly where at least it sounded like at one point he thought he was going. Was to San Antonio. And then they could take back like Doug McDermott and Jetty Osman, who could slide into New York. Maybe McDermott definitely fill a rotation spot as kind of that 10, 15 minute a night backup behind Julius Randle. Osman, just another guy on the wing. You could kind of slides into the Fournier end of the bench role. And then you just go forward with that. So that's the kind of thing I think. Nobody else really jumps to mind for me that screams. Because really, if you're the Knicks, they don't need any more guards. They've got enough guards. Their center spot is covered. What they really need is like one more like 4 to play behind Randall, and that's kind of it, for them that they're needing. Oh, was that like thunder?
That was thunder.
Oh man,
I got a huge.
Hear that.
Yeah, right. I've got a huge storm going here right now.
Crazy. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get out of here before you're forced off the air.
Right.
But that's the kind of thing I think there could make some sense.
Yeah, I agree. That's somebody put OKC in the chat. That's what it is.
It's true. Thunder. Yeah, thunder coming. Hassan asked, "Do you guys expect Oubre to sign with the Suns or the Sixers? Would it be for the minimum?" That's all either team functionally has to offer. So I don't know. I think we'll see. I mean, the Suns are pretty full up. Their rosters, relatively full. So I don't think it'll be the Suns, but I think I think the maybe the Sixers, it would make a lot of sense that they could use another wing. And if it's for the minimum, why not? Right? You really don't have anything to do. And then DJ added Oubre could go to Miami after the Lillard trade is done. That's part of probably what's going on with guys like him. And we talked about Jalen Noel a little bit ago is, hey, let me see what it looks like after a Harden trade or a Lillard trade is made. If that opens up 2-3 roster spots somewhere, then those guys may jump in there. Christian Wood may also be in that kind of boat as well.
Yeah. And so there's a few guys that are going to be kind of in that spot at the moment. Okay. Before I lose my signal here, because it's starting to get a little bit spotty, actually, we should probably call it a show. Marcus Stevens, we'll finish with this. Appreciate the kind words. Most informative NBA podcast. After listening to the best, forget the rest. Big up to the front office show. Big up to the Lakers. Barbados, log on. Welcome in from Barbados. Appreciate it.
Barbados. A wave as we sail by.
That's right. Give him a wave, Keith. Give him a wave.
Yeah. I will wave. Yeah. So as Trevor said, I will not be here next week. So I am really, really hoping to not connect in. I'm really hoping to stay dialed out, and then we'll come we'll come back next week. If something big happens next week, I am back in town on Friday, so we can connect it at the end of the week and go. Man, you better go make sure everything's tied down outside.
That's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna batten down the hatches here and ride this thing out. But thank you everybody for joining us. Appreciate it. Till next time. See ya and stay safe.